They told me the atmosphere on Deliria 5 would taste like rust. I didn't expect it to taste like regret. The shuttle landed in the Senate Hall's open cradle, where the ivory towers curved like bones toward the ochre sky. I stepped out, wearing my formal armor, part nanoweave, part facade. The planet's rulers awaited, flanked by their ceremonial guards, all teeth and posture. "Commander Esten Virell," a voice rang, smooth and glassy. "We welcome you to our rebirth." Rebirth. That was their word for joining the unified colonies. A polite phrase for surrender. High Regent Sorik approached, hands empty, a diplomatic signal of peace, but his eyes gave him away. They twitched to his left, toward the girl kneeling at the center of the dais, skin iridescent, limbs folded, like origami, a symbol etched into her neck, pulsing with a faint green glow. "She is yours," Sorik said. My stomach dropped. "What?" "A companion of the Vorthon line, bred for comfort and loyalty. Her name is Keiraxi. She speaks 17 languages. Cooks, heals, obeys." A pause. "A gift. Our way of thanking you." I looked at her. She didn't flinch, didn't cry. She only stared into me like she was looking through glass. This wasn't a girl. She was property. Around me, the delegates held their breath. Cameras watched from hidden nodes. I was supposed to smile, accept her, play the role. Instead, I walked to her and did something that turned the room to ice. I reached for the symbol on her neck and deactivated it. The pulse dimmed. Gasps echoed. Keiraxi blinked. Once. Twice. Her body shivered as if waking from a long dream. "I'm not your master," I said. "You're not a gift. You're a person. Come with me. Only if you want to." Silence. Then she stood, and the galaxy began to tilt. They called me a fool behind closed doors. Diplomats raged. Trade envoys froze negotiations. The High Regent claimed insult. He offered 2 more companions to make up for the error. I refused. Again, I didn't care about protocol. I cared about the look in her eyes when I broke her chain, the way her breath stuttered when freedom returned. Keiraxi stayed by choice. Slept on the floor at first, near the vent, curled like a cat. It took her a week to ask me a question. Her voice was soft, textured like wet sand. "Why did you refuse me?" I looked up from the galaxy chart I was decoding. "Because I don't believe in owning people." "Even if they were made for it?" "No one is made for that." She nodded slowly, as if tasting each syllable. "That night," she cried. Quietly. I didn't mention it. The ship we lived on, the Prism Wake, was a diplomatic class vessel, but I'd modified it, shielded from Council AI, a relic among newer cruisers but more private than any embassy. Keiraxi spent hours in the engine corridor, tracing conduits with her fingers, listening to vibrations like she was reading poems in the current. "I remember this hum," she said once. "You've been on a ship like this?" She looked away. "Not like this, but once. A long time ago, before I was erased." "Erased?" She nodded. "They take what we know, strip it, compress it into behavior. You get obedience. We forget names. Ours and theirs. Do you remember yours?" A pause. "No, but I remember the sound of my mother's laugh. It was broken, like a cracked bell. She had been someone. Once. Now she was becoming someone again." 3 weeks later, I woke to sirens, security breach. Deck 3. I rushed to the core and found her crouched near the reactor, palms pressed to the cooling vents. Light spilled from her skin, raw, unstable, code-slick energy warping reality around her. Keiraxi. She didn't turn. She was sinking, merging with something hidden, ancient. "I remember now," she whispered. "What are you doing?" "They used me, but not all of me. They locked the rest. Here." "What's here?" She turned to me, eyes like twin collapsing stars. "I am a carrier of something old, something buried in our blood. They wanted my loyalty but feared my legacy. I stared, heart thudding. What legacy? She smiled. Forthon was not a house. It was a weapon. I am the last memory of a queen they erased. And then the hull shook. Something was waking. The ship didn't just tremble. It responded. Circuits that hadn't blinked in years flared to life. Hidden panels in the floor slid open with a hiss, revealing runes carved into alloy. The Prism Wake wasn't a diplomatic vessel anymore. It was something older. Something alive. I backed away from Keiraxi as her hands drifted through the exposed circuitry, fingers twitching like a conductor summoning a symphony. Light wrapped around her arms in fractal spirals, not hurting her. Following her. I didn't know it was buried here, she said. Her voice had changed. Still hers, but undercut with layers. Echoes from timelines that shouldn't have converged. They used parts of our line to power ships like this. Bio-coded the engines to bloodlines they thought were extinct. I scanned. The readings on my neural HUD. Temperatures were rising, but the reactor was stable. No threats. Just awakening. Keiraxi, I said carefully. This vessel, it wasn't made by the Accord, was it? No, she murmured. It was ours, and by ours she didn't mean the Delirians, not just her race. Something more secret, more terrifying. She stepped back, and the lights dimmed to a calm, synchronized pulse. I didn't remember who I was because they built me to forget, she said. But the ship remembered me. The hull settled, and a hidden door opened in. The rear chamber. One I'd never seen before. Never logged. It led deep, below the known decks, beneath what should have been structural dead weight. I think we're supposed to see what's down there, she said. We descended into silence. The chamber was nothing like the rest of the ship. Organic plating arched like bone over crystal. Consoles. Sigils hovered in the air, pulsing when we stepped near. I tried to scan them with my lens. My AI fizzled, jammed. No translation. This language wasn't dead. It was deliberately erased. In the center of the chamber was a sarcophagus. But not for a body. It was a pod, sealed, empty. She reached out, ran her hand across its curved shell. This was my sister's. You had a sister? She nodded slowly. Not by birth, by splinter. They made us in mirrored pairs. One to serve, one to sleep. I think I was the sleeper. You weren't meant to wake? No, but the war changed things. The one they kept awake, my sister, died in the revolt. I think I was all that was left. She looked at me then. Not as a servant, not as something given, but as an equal, someone awakening into herself. I don't want to be a weapon anymore, she whispered. But I think I still am. Later that night, the stars outside shimmered wrong. I sat with her in the cockpit, charting trajectories we never planned to take. Our mission had gone from diplomacy to survival in days, but my thoughts weren't on escape. They were on us. She stared into the starfield, fingers twitching like they were remembering music. Do you believe in souls, Esten? She asked. Not before, I admitted. But lately, I believe in a lot of things I can't explain. She smiled at that. I think mine was broken into pieces, shattered across timelines. That's why I feel like more than one person. I don't care how many you are, I said. As long as you're real with me. That silenced her. Not because she was offended, because no one had ever told her that before. We were intercepted 2 days later, a vessel decloaked mid-orbit, hovering like a vulture made of obsidian blades. No identification, no Accord transponder, just one message burned into every channel. Surrender the prototype. You are out of time. Keiraxi's body locked. It's the cleaners, she said. They track anomalies, things that escape deletion. I activated the ship's defenses, but she touched my arm. Let me speak to them. I hesitated, then nodded. She stepped into the comm core, activated the signal, and transmitted, not words, sound. It wasn't speech, it was a tone, a forgotten frequency. The enemy ship hesitated, then responded with a single encrypted reply. "We didn't expect you to remember." "Then you were fools," she said softly. Their ship powered up weapons. We fled. The prism wake had never moved. Like that before, it glided through quantum slips, dodging beam trails that sliced reality like ribbons. Keiraxi merged with the controls, not physically but mentally. Her thoughts became our navigation. "Are you flying us?" I asked over. "The noise." "I'm remembering us," she answered. She pushed the ship past thresholds it was never designed to breach, and yet it held. Not because of tech, but because it knew her. We escaped. Barely. In the silence after, I looked at her, sweat on her brow, breathing heavy, eyes burning with ancient light. "Why are they after you?" "Because I shouldn't exist," she said. "And if I live long enough, I might wake the others." The farther we drifted from the central colonies, the quieter the stars became. No transmissions, no patrols, no commerce signals, just the static hum of the void, like a universe holding its breath. Keiraxi slept less and less. Not because she was afraid. They'd made sure she couldn't feel that the same way we do. But because her body was changing, reclaiming itself. Memory, once buried, now etched itself into her skin in geometric shapes. Bioluminescent glyphs that surfaced along her spine and wrists, vanishing like ink in heat. Her cells were writing something. "What's happening to you?" I asked one night as she stood shirtless in front of the observation glass, stars casting reflections on her glowing skin. "They didn't just delete our history," she said. "They hid it inside us. I am the archive, Esten. I carry knowledge they thought they'd erased from the universe." She turned to me, voice steady but eyes king. "And I think it's rewriting me. I sent a secure transmission to an old contact, someone I trusted. Dr. Selkin Arvid, a xenogeneticist hiding out on the moon fortress of Tarsk's Vale. If anyone could interpret Keiraxi's condition without trying to weaponize her, it was her." Selkin responded with coordinates, a half smile, and a warning. "If she is what you say she is, you won't like what I'll find." The journey took 5 cycles. We traveled mostly in silence. I could feel Keiraxi pulling further inward, becoming quieter, more calculated. Not cold, just careful. Every look felt weighed, every breath measured. It scared me, not because I feared her, but because I was falling for someone I might not fully reach. We landed. Selkin's lab was buried inside an asteroid, hidden behind kinetic veils and cloaked energy grids. The interior smelled of ionized dust and sterilization. She met us at the hangar, eyes scanning Keiraxi like she was some forgotten relic. "Stunning," Selkin whispered. "She's more intact than the ones I studied." "What others?" I asked sharply. Selkin waved us in. "We'll talk after diagnostics." Keiraxi lay in the analysis cradle, surrounded by light scanners and neural webbing. Selkin watched her vitals, expression unreadable. Finally, she turned to me. "She's not entirely Silithrian," she said. "I know. No, I mean not genetically. Half of her genome contains dormant code, strands I've only ever seen in vault temples from the veiled eras. Self-repairing, self-generating, and adaptive to thought." "What does that mean?" "It means her mind isn't just remembering. It's activating. She's a living node of an ancient system, a networked species, one that could communicate across time." Keiraxi opened her eyes. "Tell him the truth, doctor," she said, voice calm. Selkin hesitated. "She's not the last," she admitted. "I lied. There's another, alive, hidden, but not awake." My chest tightened. "Where?" Selkin lowered her voice. "Cradle Station, abandoned during the Shattering War. If what I've decoded from her genome is correct, the other one may be a guardian key. If they connect..." Keiraxi sat up, finishing for her. "We could access the Central memory, the root archive. I glanced between them. What's in the archive? They both answered at once. Truth. We left that night. Selkin gave us coordinates, maps, and her silence. I watched her watch Keiraxi as we boarded the Prism Wake again. You love her, don't you? She asked just before we left. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. Cradle Station was a ghost, once a mining colony, then a research station. It now hung half-destroyed in orbit around a burnt-out planet. As we approached, Keiraxi's symbols began to pulse again, this time in rhythm, like an approaching song. They built this place on top of one of our cradles, she murmured, thinking it was a power well. Was it? She turned to me. No, it was a womb. We breached the derelict station with the ship's stealth field engaged. No signs of life, just rusted corridors and silent sentries long since powered down. In the core chamber we found her, encased in crystal, suspended in sleep. Another woman, taller, older, but clearly of the same species as Keiraxi. Her glyphs were dormant, but the aura around her shimmered like mist. Her name is Erixa, Keiraxi whispered. She was my mentor, or perhaps I was hers. Can we wake her? We must, but the link will burn one of us. What do you mean? She looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear. This kind of connection wasn't meant for two. One mind must collapse for the other to grow. No, I said. There has to be another way. There isn't. I won't let you die. I'm not dying. I'm returning. Before I could stop her, she placed her hand on the crystal. It cracked, then sang. The glyphs on Keiraxi's body surged. Gold, white, then black. Light enveloped her, and she screamed, but not in pain, in memory. Erixa opened her eyes, and the chamber shattered. I don't remember hitting the floor. One moment, Keiraxi was touching the crystal, and the next, a scream split the air, and the walls folded in on themselves. Not physically. Something deeper. Reality bent, as if two timelines were colliding. I felt my spine fracture without impact, my thoughts scatter into echoes, then silence, and her voice. Not Keiraxi's. Esten Virell. You shouldn't have come here. I opened my eyes. The chamber was gone. No ship, no walls, just endless obsidian ground, stretching to a horizon painted in a bleeding sunset. Floating above it, two figures, Keiraxi, radiant with glyphs alive, and spiraling, and Erixa, her body made of shifting light and bone. They circled one another like stars on the verge of fusion. We're in the archive, Keiraxi said. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but the weight of remembering too much, too fast. Erixa drifted closer, her voice like the sound of leaves falling in a vacuum. He followed you? Keiraxi nodded. I didn't mean for him to. That makes him dangerous. No, I said, stepping forward. That makes me human. They both turned. The landscape shivered. Erixa touched the ground, and with her touch came visions, millions of lives, all drawn from the buried history they shared. Cities grown from sound, empires built on empathy before war erased them. Species, uplifted, then betrayed. And finally the fracture, when the archivists were divided into two castes, those who remembered and those who were made to forget. You are one of the forgotten, Erixa said to Keiraxi, eyes filled with sorrow.
The last of our silent daughters.
I chose silence because they gave me no voice, Keiraxi said. Then speak now, I urged. She did. I want out. Not just of the war, not just of the systems, but of all of it. I don't want to be a weapon. I don't want to be data. I want myself. Erixa hesitated. Then you must disconnect. From what? From me. From the archive. From the bloodline, Keiraxi faltered. That would kill the knowledge. Yes, Erixa said gently, but it might let you live. I stepped between them. There has to be a way for her to live and for the truth to survive. There is, Keiraxi said. But it requires a sacrifice. Keiraxi stiffened. Not him. You misunderstand. She turned to me. Not him. You. Keiraxi blinked. What? Keiraxi floated toward her. Your human has a neural cortex uniquely adapted to empathy. Most cannot withstand memory embedding. But he can. You want to put the archive in him? Only a fragment, she said. Enough to keep the fire lit. Enough to let you... Go! Keiraxi turned to me, horrified. You'd lose pieces of yourself, memories, emotions, maybe even your ability to love. I didn't hesitate. I'd rather lose memories than lose you. She didn't cry. She just held my face and whispered, You don't know what you're offering. I kissed her forehead. I don't need to. The transfer took seconds and centuries. Keiraxi reached through my skull, not physically, but fundamentally. I felt every life they had carried, mothers cradling daughters under the stars, soldiers dying without knowing why, lovers separated by time and guilt. I saw the first language of their people, made of light and pulse. I felt the sorrow of a million deleted names. And then, I forgot. Not all. Just pieces, her favorite song. The first time she touched my hand. My mother's voice. It all flickered. And fell. I collapsed. When I woke, I was back on the prism wake. Keiraxi sat beside me. Keiraxi was gone. She dissolved, Keiraxi said. Not into death. Into legacy. You hold part of her now. I don't remember how you used to look when I first met you, I said softly. But I know I chose you. Her hand slipped into mine. You did. We left Cradle Station behind. I couldn't recall the coordinates, neither could she. The prism wake flew blind, carried by instinct and stars we no longer recognized. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. Every now and then, Keiraxi would hum a melody. I didn't recognize it, but I liked how it made the ship lights dim softly, like it was listening too. Sometimes I remembered flashes, a memory of her asleep on the floor vent, of her eyes the first time she saw herself in a mirror, of the moment. I refused to accept her. They were faint, but they were mine. Then came the message, encrypted, layered, hidden in frequencies only a living archive would catch. Keiraxi froze. What is it? I asked. She turned the screen to me. A symbol. One neither of us had ever seen in real life, but which she knew by instinct. A spiral. Underneath, in broken code. The cradles were decoys. The real archive is alive. She looked up. I think someone is calling me. Who? She touched the glyph at her neck, now just a scar. My daughter. The message had come too suddenly, too clearly. The spiraling glyph on the screen, unfamiliar yet hauntingly ancient, was a call. Not from some forgotten corner of the universe, but from within Keiraxi herself. I think I remember. Her, Keiraxi murmured, her fingers trembling as they hovered over the screen. She was part of me, before. I took her hand, grounding her, the intensity in her eyes, an unshakable fire that seemed to burn through the ship itself. Was as if the universe had just split open and offered her an invitation she wasn't sure she was ready for. You're not alone anymore, Keiraxi, I said softly. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. She looked at me, her expression full of an ache I couldn't fully understand. But I don't know what I'll become, Esten. I changed when I activated the archive. The fragments of Keiraxi are inside me, but so is something else. Something that isn't just mine. I nodded, even though the weight of her words settled, like ice in my chest. I'm not afraid of what you might become. I'm afraid of losing you. I'm not going anywhere, she said, squeezing my hand. But I don't know what's waiting for me out there. Or who. The coordinates were impossible to trace using conventional methods, but Keiraxi didn't need technology. She closed her eyes, and for a brief moment, her body glowed again, shifting with those same mysterious symbols that had once made her appear as nothing more than a weapon. "I can feel her," she whispered, her voice distant. "I can feel the pulse of her blood. She's near." The ship's systems flickered, as if resonating with the energy Keiraxi was channeling. The prism wake hummed a deep, ancient note, as if acknowledging the presence of something other. "Take us to her," I said, my throat tight with anticipation. Keiraxi nodded, and in an instant, the ship leaped into motion, far beyond the limits of any known speed. Stars stretched, and time itself bent as the ship followed the trail she created with her mind. We traveled not by coordinates or mapped routes, but through the fabric of the universe itself, a path only she could sense. As we neared the location, a dim, cold light shimmered ahead of us, a dark, uncharted zone where the universe seemed to hold its breath. A nebula formed from ancient remnants, long forgotten. And within it, a large structure, half hidden by cosmic debris, drifted like a sunken ghost ship. "That's where she is," Keiraxi said, her voice steady but strained. "The heart of the archive." The heart of the archive was a colossal space station, once a beacon of knowledge and creation, now a husk of what it once was. Its massive spherical core lay dormant, surrounded by decaying rings of ancient machinery. But beneath the quiet, there was something alive, pulsing, waiting. I could feel it in my bones as we descended, the air thick with the hum of forgotten energy. As we touched down in the station's central hangar, the doors opened before us, revealing the darkened interior. It was as if the station had been abandoned for eons, but somehow everything inside it still functioned. Wires gleaming faintly, automated lights flickering to life in our presence. "Erix's legacy is here," Keiraxi said, her voice echoing off the walls. "This is where it all began, where the cradles were born." "What are we supposed to do here?" I asked, my eyes scanning the space. Keiraxi took a deep breath, stepping forward with a sense of purpose that matched the force of the storm that raged within her. "I need to find her, the one who called me. She's here, buried beneath the archives. She's been waiting for me." We moved deeper into the station, following corridors lined with cryptic markings that seemed to pulse with life when Keiraxi drew near. Her connection to the station was undeniable now, her footsteps echoing through the halls as if in sync with some ancient rhythm. "There's something strange about this place," I said, my voice low, "like it's watching us." "It is," Keiraxi answered quietly. "The archive is alive. The knowledge here, it has its own consciousness, a mind that has been waiting for the right moment to wake." As we entered the central chamber, we found it. A massive crystalline structure, half buried in the center of the room, glowing faintly with the same symbols that marked Keiraxi's skin. At its core, a woman stood, suspended in a stasis field, her body encased in a crystal tomb, but her eyes open, glowing with the same light as Keiraxi's. Keiraxi's voice trembled. "It's her. It's Leora." I watched as Keiraxi approached, the crystal, her hands reaching out, drawn toward the figure within. The room felt charged with energy as she neared. Leora's eyes locked onto hers. "You've come," Leora's voice echoed, though her lips never moved. "I have been waiting for you, Keiraxi. The last of our line, the final key." Keiraxi hesitated, then placed her palm against the crystal. The instant she did, the light around the chamber flared, and the sound of ancient machinery groaned to life, as though the entire station was waking up from a long slumber. "What is this?" I asked, stepping forward, but Keiraxi's gaze was fixed on Leora. "This is the moment," Keiraxi said softly. "The moment we were always meant to reach." Leora's eyes began to glow brighter. "I was the first to awaken," Leora continued, "and you will be the last. We are the culmination of everything that was lost, Keiraxi. The archive was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to guard the truth. But now, the truth must be passed on to you." Keiraxi's chest rose and fell with a deep breath, and I could see the weight of the decision pressing on her. I'm not ready. I don't know if I can be what you want me to be. You have already been, Leora answered. You've always been ready. And then, with a sound that shook the station, the crystal cracked. The crystal shattered with a resonant crack, echoing through the chamber like a breaking star. The shards fell in slow motion, their light bending and twisting as they disintegrated into the air, scattering like embers in the wind. From the center of the shattered crystal emerged Leora, no longer trapped in stasis but standing before us in full form, her body glowing with the same symbols that had once adorned Keiraxi's skin. Her presence was both overwhelming and serene, like a sunrise breaking over the edge of a forgotten world. Keiraxi stepped forward, her eyes wide with both awe and fear. Leora? How? How are you here? Leora's eyes, filled with ancient knowledge and sorrow, met Keiraxi's. I never truly left, child. I was waiting for you to awaken the final piece, to understand the truth of our existence. Her voice resonated with the same depth of the stars themselves, ancient and eternal. The archive is not just a repository of knowledge, it is the very heartbeat of all that we were and all that we will be. Keiraxi trembled, her hand reaching out but stopping just shy of touching Leora. I don't understand. Why did you leave me? Why was I made to forget? Leora's gaze softened. You were never meant to remember, not all at once. The knowledge we carry is too dangerous, too vast for a single being to bear. That is why we were split. I lived, holding the archive, but I could not do it forever. You were the last, the final vessel. But I don't want to carry it anymore, Keiraxi whispered. I don't want to be a weapon. Leora smiled faintly, though her expression held the weight of centuries. The weapon was never what you were meant to be. You were the keeper, the guardian of the truth. But you've always had the choice to change, Keiraxi, to use it for what it was truly meant for. Knowledge is freedom. It is not a tool for domination, but a gift. I stepped forward, hearing the weight of their conversation but understanding only fragments. Then what happens now? I asked, my voice breaking the reverent silence. What does she do with all this knowledge? Leora's gaze shifted to me, and for a moment, I felt as if she were seeing straight through me. You, Esten Virell, are the reason she has reached this moment. You are her tether, her anchor to humanity. Without you, she would have spiraled into the very same void that claimed our people. Keiraxi's hand clenched at her side, and for the first time since I met her, she looked truly afraid. I don't know how to live without this power, Leora. I've been holding it back for so long. What if I become the very thing I feared? You will not, Leora said gently. You are not alone in this. You never were. The air around us began to hum again, a low frequency that reverberated in my chest. The entire station seemed to respond to Leora's words. But as I looked at Keiraxi, I realized something had changed. The light around her wasn't the same. It wasn't a weapon anymore. It was something softer, more human. I can feel it, Keiraxi whispered. I can feel the truth of everything. But it's not just in me. It's in you, too. The ground trembled beneath us, and a new voice, a collective murmur, spoke from the depths of the archive. The final transmission is complete. The past and the future have merged. Keiraxi closed her eyes, focusing on the voice. This is what I've been searching for. The last piece of the puzzle. The archive is alive, because it needs to unite. Leora stepped aside, her presence fading slightly as the chamber around us began to reshape, the walls shifting and folding like the pages of a great book. You are the culmination of our people's hope, Keiraxi. The truth is not something to control. It is meant to be shared. The archive will no longer be a secret. It will be a foundation. Keiraxi turned to me, her eyes full of new understanding, and I could see the change in her, like the light had finally returned to her soul, the fear she carried melting away. She was no longer the weapon. She was something else. Something That could change the course of history. What do we do now? I asked, my voice still trembling with the enormity of everything we had just uncovered. Keiraxi stepped forward, and for the first time since we'd met, her eyes shone with the certainty of someone who had found their place in the universe. Now, we share it with the galaxy. The truth is too important to keep hidden any longer. The station began to hum louder, and in that moment, the entire structure seemed to light up, its vast systems awakening. Screens across the walls flickered to life, displaying the ancient knowledge of civilizations long lost. Histories, technologies, and memories, everything that had been hidden for centuries, began to unfold. "We can start again," Keiraxi whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I stepped closer, feeling the magnitude of the moment. "Together." "Yes," she said, taking my hand. "Together." As we left the heart of the archive behind, the ship carried us away, from the darkness of that forgotten space. But now it was no longer a place of loss. It was a beacon, one that would guide the galaxy toward a new era of understanding, peace, and collaboration. I no longer feared the knowledge Keiraxi held. She had become the bridge between the past and the future. And for the first time, I knew without a doubt that this was where we were meant to be. The stars stretched before us, and the path ahead was no longer a mystery. We were ready.